What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is your boy Frankie Bones, and in today's video I have a really exciting one for you guys. Definitely exciting for me with the baseball season kicking off with spring training starting last week. I am going to be doing a 2023 preview for my team, the New York Yankees. Going to be breaking down the offseason moves that were made, both players and in the front office as well. And then at the end, I'm going to be showing you guys the projected starting rotation, as well as what I would have as my projected starting lineup to start the year. Now, obviously, this is the first Yankees content on the series. Looking forward to bring a lot more content throughout the season, doing recaps, predictions, previews, things like that on a weekly basis. But figured this was a good way to start, and hopefully you guys enjoy the content as well. Please make sure to drop a like on this video if you guys do enjoy. Feel free to let me know down in the comments below what your team is, what you thought of the moves, and obviously there are a lot of Yankees haters out there as well, so feel free to let that fly down below. Won't bother me in the slightest. So going over firstly some of the offseason news from this past offseason. The first thing that I wanted to note on the Yankees is that they checked, if not all, most of their boxes that they were looking to get this offseason. Obviously, the Yankees are always looking for the big splash, and ultimately they were able to do this in regards to re-signing Aaron Judge, the 2022 American League MVP. He had an absolutely dominant season. He had 62 home runs. Ultimately slowed down a little bit in the playoffs, so we will need to work on that a little bit. But over the course of this 9-year contract, I'm sure that he will have plenty of time to prove himself. He got a 9-year, $360 million contract. Not really a part of the deal, but everybody sort of assumed that this was coming as a result of it. He was donned the 16th captain of the New York Yankees, the first captain since Derek Jeter, so obviously a very big honor and held in very high regard from everybody in the organization, everybody on the team, as well as the fan base overall. Obviously a massive add to get him back. There were some rumors, but felt like he was always going to return to the Yankees, was drafted by them, came up through the farm system, and ultimately it was just the money. And once it became even, he obviously pulled the trigger. Next player that we're going to talk about that was also a massive re-signing for the Yankees, in my opinion, was getting Anthony Rizzo to re-sign on a 2-year deal worth $34 million with a team option in 2025 for $17 million, which is the same amount for the first 2 years. So having that big lefty power hitter in the Bronx is obviously very important with the short porch. His defense has been great. He is a guy who has been there before and won the World Series. I think it's important to have that pedigree in your locker room. Held to a very high regard by obviously all the guys. I think he's one of the de facto leaders on this team, and a lot of people look up to him. I think this was an absolute home run. At $17 million a year with that team option for the 3rd year, I think that this was a really good deal for both sides. At 32 home runs last year, really didn't show any signs of slowing down, so looking forward to seeing what he can contribute this year as well. The second box that the Yankees had to check was to bolster the rotation with a top-end starting pitcher. Obviously, they were not able to go out and sort of compete with the ridiculous offer for Jacob deGrom. Not sure how much he really wanted to come to the Yankees anyway, but the Yankees end up with a guy that I always really wanted, something that's been a staple with a lot of Yankees teams in the past, World Series winning teams, is getting that power lefty. The Yankees were able to sign Carlos Rodon to a 6-year, $162 million contract. although he does have to shave the beard. He will be rocking that sweet mustache, which obviously we love that. The stashes will be back in the Bronx this year. I think that this was a key piece to add in with Garrett Cole. It's not a move like bringing in Frankie Montas last year at the deadline, who we'll get to a little bit later. But, he's a front-end guy. He could end up being the one on this team. And in reality, that may not be the worst thing as a Yankees fan. Because Garrett Cole has been incredibly strong. He's on the massive contract, so you want him to be absolutely dealing. But, having that extra guy to push him, really fiery competitor. He has that crazy fuck you about him, honestly. And he's a psycho. I mean, he hits himself on the mound. He yells at himself. He screams in general. I love that competitiveness. Garrett Cole does have it, but I think bringing in this other top-end guy will be massive. And it's just a staple to all great Yankee teams need to have a powerful lefty on the mound. So, love this move from the Yankees as well. Moving down the list, just some things in the bullpen. The Yankees did lose Chad Green, who's been a staple of the Yankees bullpen for a long time. He's coming off of Tommy John that he got in the middle of last year. But ultimately, I think Chad Green, in a way, was sort of figured out on the Yankees. The fastball wasn't really playing up enough like it was. And ultimately, his fastball just, wasn't high 90s anymore, and he wasn't locating it well, and it was getting mashed. Hate to see Chad go, but the Yankees were able to reunite, actually, with a former relief pitcher in Tommy Kahnle, who was over at the Dodgers for 2 years. He's been injured over the past few seasons and ultimately was why the Yankees parted ways with him. But he is healthy. He's back. Another fiery competitor. He wears the high socks. He throws hard. Got the power changeup. Just really like adding this arm, another really dynamic pitcher into this Yankees bullpen. Chad Green, more of a two-pitch pitcher with the fastball, curveball, slider, but always love a power changeup. Getting Tommy back in, I think, will be massive for the back end. Moving on to arbitration deals, everybody signed on to all the deals. I think there were 10 guys or 9 guys that had to sign. Gleyber Torres took a little bit longer, but does make a lot of sense. He's in his last year on his rookie deal. Still looking to get as much money as he can or an extension, but obviously that's just a numbers game. The only thing that I would say the Yankees did not really check off of their list was who's going to be playing in left field. At this point, is Giancarlo Stanton going to be playing left field? We've heard rumors that Judge would switch over to left when playing in Yankee Stadium so Giancarlo can get in the field. He has said that he enjoys playing in the field and it helps keep him in rhythm, but honestly, I'd rather keep him healthy. If he can steal some games in right field at home, if he's comfortable enough maybe to play in left field in certain situations, let's say at Fenway where he can play the Green Monster, or Houston with the Crawford boxes, in certain situations to be able to get him in will be big, but ultimately every day, will it be Aaron Hicks? Will it be Cabrera? We'll have to stay tuned on that. I think it'll start off as Hicks. Hopefully, he's always hurt, but hopefully this year he had a good offseason, hitting the ground running with spring training. Obviously only a few games in, but we'll see where that plays itself out. We have a couple different guys to plug in there, and we'll just have to see what works. So, one key that the Yankees are going to need this year is to start and remain healthy. I think that, guys like DJ, who had the injured toe at the end of last year that became more of an issue, did not end up needing surgery. He's almost back at 100% and he's ready to go, which is a big factor for the Yankees. He is coined as the utility player. I'll get into this a little bit later, but he can play third, he can play second, he can play first. He'll DH if you need him to. Let's say Giancarlo is playing in the field. DJ can definitely slide into the DH spot. So that will be massive. Guys that are back and healthy. Sevy will have a full offseason, so he will have a full ramp-up program, and he'll be ready to go out of the gates. He had a great season last year. so he will look to continue on that performance. The other thing that is massive is Michael King, who had Tommy John surgery in the early to middle part of last year. He will be back for the beginning of the season. An incredibly dominant reliever out of the bullpen. Him and Clay Holmes, the 1-2 punch at the back end, were absolutely nasty for about that month span. The two of them were just absolutely unhittable. So it'll be big for Michael King to be back in the back end of the pen. Moving on to some of the biggest questions that we have. Well, actually, let me just pivot back. We'll cover this really quickly first. The Yankees made two really big offseason moves to help bolster the front office, which I think will help. A lot of people that have worked at the Yankees have been there for years, particularly in the front office. I think that bringing in some new minds will be a great way to help reinvigorate this front office staff, change a little bit of the thinking and mentality, and hopefully be the thing that, won't be the thing that puts them over the edge, but hopefully it's the thing that puts them in a position to get over the edge. So the first hiring was they hired Brian Sabean, who will be the executive advisor to Brian Cashman. Formerly, he was the executive vice president of baseball ops at the San Francisco Giants. And they won 3 World Series. Obviously, the Yankees have won their share, but important to bring another champion in. Guy with a different mentality, a different franchise that has been incredibly successful and done it their own way. I think this will be a big boost for the squad. As well, they brought in Omar Minaya, who will be the senior advisor to baseball operations. He was formerly the GM of the Mets and the Expos, multiple stints with the Mets. I just think that bringing in other baseball minds is really big. Again, hopefully to switch up some of the mentalities of this front office and put them in a spot to ultimately be successful. Now, my biggest questions heading into the season, although there aren't a ton, and some of these are a little bit nitpicky. The first is, will Clay Holmes return to his form from the first half of last year? He was absolutely dominant. He was elected to his first All-Star game. He was basically just unhittable with the sinker. 100-mile-an-hour sinker, just devastating people just down and away to lefties. So much movement, and in the second half of the season, lost his command. He was hitting batters, was leaving meatballs over the plate and getting hit around a lot. A fair amount of blown saves before he ultimately was able to get that closing spot back and become healthy. So definitely a big question mark there, but I think the Yankees at the back end have plenty of dominant guys to be able to fill that spot, or at least rotate in to give him the rest that he needs to be at his top form. The Yankees have Michael King, who obviously we touched on earlier, absolutely filthy stuff. As a setup guy, he could definitely fill into that role. Jonathan Loaizaga, who, has the heat, similar sinker, nasty slider, and a changeup combo. And Tommy Kahnle, I think, could come in and do a serviceable job in this role too. All those guys could be interchangeable in the instance that Clay Holmes isn't able to find this form again. But ultimately, I think that he will. But definitely a question, because obviously last season we saw some issues in his first full year of sort of dominance. We'll see if he's able to maintain that form, work on his control, and get back to that form. The next question that I have is, will IKF improve defensively at shortstop? He did win his Gold Glove at third base before the Yankees brought him over from Texas, in the deal that also brought over Jose Trevino. I personally don't really like him at shortstop, but at the end of the day, he does make a lot of contact, so his bat is relatively valuable in the lineup. There is definitely a premium of contact hitters in this league. I'm not saying he's the best, but he's definitely a guy who has speed on the bases. He does have a good glove, I think, when he takes his time and makes a play. He somehow, boots all the routine balls and makes the diving plays, the jump throws, all that stuff. So will he just become more consistent defensively at shortstop? In the wing, the Yankees have Peraza and Volpe, two of their high-end prospects that both play shortstop. I think that, we did see Peraza come up last year. He played decently well. He played short and second, I believe. May have played some third. I kind of forget. I think it was just short and second, though. Volpe, a true shortstop, who was playing in Double-A and up in Triple-A when Peraza got called up. So it'll be interesting to see how this whole situation plays out. Both of these guys, Volpe and Peraza, are at spring training down at George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. And we'll see what guys are able to make an impact. Volpe is starting again tonight. I'm recording this on Monday night, or Monday afternoon for you guys on Monday night. So he's in the lineup tonight, going up against the Tigers. He was 2 for 4 yesterday with 2 stolen bases, with a double and a single. Both going the other way. Great speed, great glove. Contact guy. He does have some pop, but great defender and puts the ball in play. Which, and going the other way, reminds you of, some guy that may have been the 15th captain of the New York Yankees in some ways. But we'll have to wait and see what happens at shortstop. Then the last question that I have coming into this year is, can Aaron Boone clean up some of the managing mistakes from last year, whether it be, pinch hitting guys in certain situations, whether it be lineup adjustments going into games. He'd sometimes play Aaron Hicks in really weird spots and, games against guys he probably shouldn't have faced, or pinch hitting Joey Gallo or some things like this. Just overall, it is a little bit nitpicky because sometimes, you're trying to win the game, not lose the game, and as a result of that, you end up losing. I definitely am one to take risks, especially when you're in the spot when you're down. You have guys on the bench, but, certain things we need to be swiping more bags, laying the baseball down on the bunt. Just some things that are definitely nitpicky, bringing in the wrong guy from the bullpen, not warming somebody up, leaving a guy in. Again, pretty nitpicky, but we'll see if he's able to advance in these areas. He did get an extension, so he will be around for the next couple of years. Definitely not opposed to him. I like his fire. The guys really like him in the clubhouse, but I think there are some things that could be cleaned up for Boone. And, definitely just keep that seat cool. Outside of winning a championship, obviously that is the number one thing that will keep him around. But at the same time, he's going to really need to show up this season, not make those mistakes, those glaring mistakes, and I think the Yankees will be just fine. So to go over, as we transition to the Yankees roster overall, we're going to start with the offense. And we're just going to go around the infield. I'll tell you guys where people slot in, where people move around, and who I'm going to have starting as well in the lineup. So for the infield at first, we have Anthony Rizzo, who's going to be the opening day starter. We also have DJ LeMahieu, who is the ultimate utility player for us. Probably not as much as a guy like Cabrera, but, plays the 3 infield spots outside of shortstop. Great glove, but Rizzo is going to be starting at first here. Don't mind DJ at first on off days or against lefties or getting Rizzo at DH day. Definitely not opposed, but we'll have Rizzo at first. At second base, we will have Gleyber Torres. Also sliding into that spot, we'll have DJ as well. Pretty comfortable with either of these guys. I think Gleyber is an underrated defender, and I think that he will definitely try and show up in this contract year. He bounced back offensively this year, but DJ is pretty serviceable. At shortstop, like we mentioned, we have IKF with the defensive woes. We also have Peraza and Volpe. We'll see how that ends up shaking out towards the end of spring training. IKF will be the opening day shortstop, but we'll see how long that leash really is for him. At third base, this is where I slot in DJ LeMahieu. He's an excellent defender, still has a great arm. Range isn't great, but the bat obviously does all the talking for him as well as the glove. Also at third base, you have Josh Donaldson, who Aaron Boone continues to defend, says that he will play third. I was the biggest defender of him last year, and he made me look like a fool. Apparently he's going to play a fair amount this year. We'll see what that bat is looking like, because that man, could not hit anything towards the end of the season. And as well, you can slot in IKF in this third base spot. This is ultimately where he won his Gold Glove, and I think is a position where he is comfortable. For our utility players as well, I have DJ and Cabrera written down. Cabrera has played second, he's played short, he's played third. And DJ as well has played first, second, and third. Pretty good situational baseball, whether it be pinch running guys, whether it be for off days, injuries. I think the Yankees are pretty well covered at the utility position for the infield. And for the catchers, we have Jose Trevino, who obviously was an all-star last year. And we have Higgy as well, Kyle Higashioka, who is a good locker room guy, had tons of pop throughout his career, had a great spring training last year, and is a great defensive catcher, so he'll definitely be involved in the team as well. As we move to the outfield, covering right field, we have Judge, who will obviously be the starter, with a peppering of Giancarlo Stanton. We'll see what ends up happening in terms of that rotation, playing at home or different ballparks, getting Stanton into the game. For center field, we have Harrison Bader, who will be the starter, as well as Aaron Hicks, who will get some reps here as well for off days, matchups, injuries, things like that. But starting in left field, I actually do have Aaron Hicks, as well as Cabrera. Cabrera, I think, definitely will play because he has a good bat, good power, good athleticism. I think that he makes the team dynamic. Had a pretty good, I would say, debut last year coming in at the end of the season. Gave them good versatility, so I think he'll definitely get a shot. But there's the guys that I like for the offense overall and where people will stack up defensively. Moving to the opening day lineup that I have for this squad, I'll run down it pretty quick. Obviously, there will be an iteration of this. There's guys that we can move around depending on how people are playing. But this is how I think ultimately it will pan out. Batting first and leadoff, we have DJ playing third base. Batting second, we have Aaron Judge playing right field. Batting third, playing first base, we have Anthony Rizzo. Batting in the 4 spot, in the cleanup spot, we have Big G, Giancarlo Stanton playing DH. Batting in the 5 hole, we have Gleyber Torres playing second. Batting in the 6th spot, we have Harrison Bader, who will be in center field. Great range on him. I think that was a good pickup for Monty. Was a little tough to see Monty go because he was pitching relatively consistently and definitely was for the Cardinals for a stretch of time after the trade. But I like the move. He was healthy last year after he got over the foot injury coming over in the trade. And I'm really excited to see him in a full year in pinstripes this year. Batting 7th, we have Jose Trevino at catcher. Batting 8th, we have Aaron Hicks, who's a switch hitter playing left field. And in the 9 spot, I have IKF, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, in the 9 spot playing shortstop. So it will be some iteration of this. I'm not sure exactly what it'll look like, but I do think that it'll probably end up being these 9 guys in the lineup. I do not want to see Josh Donaldson on opening day. I don't want to see him in the second game, and I don't want to see him in the third game. Personally, I'm kind of done with him. Costs a lot of money. Try and trade him in a salary dump, whether it be getting a back-end starting pitcher tied with a prospect, going over there with Donaldson. I'm not sure what to do, but I think that was a mistake. It was sort of the cost of getting rid of Gary, but at the same time, he really did not show up last year outside of the glove in flashes, the more that I look back at it. But for now, we're going to ride with that. For the pitching staff, I'm actually going to start with the relievers because I don't really have a graphic for that, but I'll run through it really quick. We have Clay Holmes, we have Jonathan Loaizaga, Wandy Peralta, Ron Marinaccio, the Notch, Michael King. We have Lou Trevino, who was actually really good at the end of last year, coming over in a deal. I like his stuff. Tommy Kahnle coming back, and Greg Weissert, who came up out of our system former closer, had a really rough first start, but settled down and has some good stuff. He has decent command. If he's able to zone that in, I think that he will be effective for us down the stretch. But moving on to the starting rotation, and we'll end it off here with this nice little graphic that I made of the fellas. We have Garrett Cole, we have Carlos Rodon, we have Luis Severino, we have nasty Nestor Cortez, and we have Domingo Germán. So the two guys that are on the outside here looking in, the first being the guy that we traded last year, gave up a lot of draft prospects and some of our best prospects from a pitching standpoint, is Frankie Montas. He came over, was really injured last year when we got him, was injured at the end of the year, didn't know what was going on with the shoulder, and then right when we get to spring training, we have a bomb dropped on us that he needs to have surgery on his labrum, which could potentially keep him out for the entire season. That's just devastating. Why was this not taken care of immediately? Why was it not taken care of right when the season ended? Lots of questions there, because he definitely could be, a dominant 5-spot starting pitcher if he comes back and he's healthy. I don't even really think he was healthy last year pitching for the Yankees. I don't even think he went more than 6 innings once. Maybe he did, but what I remember, I don't even really remember that. So to be honest, he may not have. But the other guy on the outside looking in, we have Clark Schmidt, who pitched in one of the spring training games already. Looked really sharp. He's a guy that's been at the top of the Yankees pitching prospect list for a long time. They've held on to him. He has great stuff, not super high velocity, but he has great breaking balls, great movement on his pitches. I think that potentially could be a factor for the Yankees in the rotation again this year. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. I know that it was a little bit more long-winded, and I'm definitely pretty winded here as I'm finishing up this recording, doing it all in one shot. But let me know down in the comments below what you guys think of my preview, what you think of my projections for this team. Obviously, I think that they're going to win the World Series. Didn't even have to bother factoring that in. The Astros are cheaters, blah, blah, blah. We will get them this year. I think that losing JV is a big piece. They obviously pitched really well outside of him as well, but I think it's time. The boys in the Bronx need to be back. Bombers are back. Boys are back. What else is there to say? But again, let me know down in the comments below if you guys disagree with me, if you guys hate the Yankees, if you love the Yankees, what you thought of any of the moves. Definitely be interested to hear your guys' opinions. Again, if you guys stuck around this long, really appreciate it. Please feel free to drop a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are new. We're on the push for 100 subscribers. And I can't wait to continue raising this goal higher and higher. And look forward to more baseball content coming in the future. Obviously, a lot of Yankees content. Still toying as to whether or not how much baseball content I want to do. Still really want to keep it more Call of Duty based. But again, you guys can let me know down in the comments down below. But for now, that is going to do it, guys. This has been your boy Frankie Bones. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Peace out.